Morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome once again to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. And I will tell you in a few minutes who's coming up on this week's show. But first of all, how are you? How have you been since we last talked? It's a beautiful morning here outside the Outdoor Magazine studio. Winds are light, temperature is comfortable, and I should be on the water. Davina, good morning. How are you, my dear? Always a pleasure to have you along with us. I was just talking to Brad Dupuy, Mr. Angler Quest, texting here before I went live, talking about how the last several times I've been on the bay, it's blown like crazy. And the last two mornings now, Randy, good morning. Last two mornings, last 2 days, it's been almost dead calm. And of course, I'm not fishing. Even I, who have a fairly flexible schedule, have to deal with that. Davina's back in the rat race for a few days. Ashley, good morning. How are you? David snuck in on me. Always a pleasure to have you folks along. I do appreciate it, as this is another edition of Behind the Mic. Me, Mike Avery, behind the mic. Craig is in a meeting, so we'll watch later. All right, Craig, have a good meeting. I hope it's productive. Jerry, good morning. How are you? Thanks for being along with us. Ruben checking in from Colorado. How you doing, buddy? Appreciate you joining us. Beautiful state of Colorado. I haven't had a chance to spend much time in Colorado, but gosh, what a beautiful state. Mountains, Rockies. Doesn't get much better than that. Where were we? Grand Junction, Colorado. I have elk hunted near there. Hello, Bruce. Thank you. Appreciate your time this morning. I do appreciate the support of everybody who joins me on the live streams, who listens to the podcast downloads, who listens to the radio show, who joins me on social media. Would not be able to do what I am without your support, and it does mean a lot to me. Believe me. No, I didn't get the bear meat back yet. I've been talking to Nick Grillo at Michigan Brand. It's there in the freezer. They're waiting till they get a bunch of wild game in to run another batch of it. Hey, Johnny, how you doing, buddy? Boy, you've been busy with your fire department stuff, haven't you? Tim, I saw a nice picture of you the other day. You're looking good, buddy. Hello, Cliff. Good morning. How are you? Thanks for joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic. As I say, it's a beautiful morning. The winds are light, as they have been for the last couple of days. Seems like every time I want to fish, it's blowing like crazy. It hasn't kept me on shore, but we've had a few bumpy trips. Davida says, I'm happy to say got a new job as an ASD teacher, no more ASDA. Well, congrats, Davina. Good for you. I'm happy for you guys. Excellent. Congrats on the new job, which means you'll be starting work here, be going back to class in what? A couple of weeks, 3 weeks? Uncle Johnny, my buddy, how are you? Had a wonderful trip Monday with Uncle Johnny, his son Aaron, Cameron. Cam is a fishing machine. 10-year-old Cam. You may have seen the picture I posted of him. Just a great kid. August 28th. Excellent, Davina. Good luck to you. So you've got you got 5 more weeks yet. Good for you. There are few things in the world more rewarding than taking a kid out, or somebody who doesn't fish, but especially a kid, and putting them on a big fish. If you saw the picture of Cam, it was a big fish. John, they do mix it with pork. Yes. We're going to do a Wednesday night live from the Michigan Brand plant here sometime in the next few weeks. So you'll learn more about that. Yeah, I hear you, Johnny. Hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy? Are you fishing this morning? Chris, I know the last time you were out with your wife, it was bumpy too. Now look at it out there. Yesterday and today, it's not blowing at all. We should be fishing yesterday and today, Chris. Good morning, Ed. How are you, buddy? I borrowed your hose again the other day, Chris. I know you said you didn't mind, so I borrowed it. It was so convenient. It was right there. I could bring my hose out, but yours is right there. Craig's not with us anymore. He had to go back to a meeting, but look what I got, Craig. Yeah, John, it's always fun to work to do things with the folks at Michigan Brand. They're good people, really good people. The Grillo family are just good people. I'm blessed to work with a lot of very, very good people. So, what's going on my list here? The fishing is starting to slow down for me. There's no doubt about it. Um, Mainly because of weeds. The areas that I want to fish are pretty well weeded up. Now, there are still fish in there, but it's really, really tough to fish when you've got floating weeds. Dave, good morning. Adam, good morning. Ross, buddy, how you doing? Thinking about you, Ross. Good morning, Dan. Johnny wants to do at least 2 fishing trips with me next year. Johnny, I would be honored. That new dog Nick has is a good-looking dog. He got it from Brent. You do need to get out again, Chris. Good morning, Tracy. My place up in Wellston was out of Avery sticks the whole 3 weeks we were up there. Who is it? Who is it? I'll let Nick know. Am I getting nervous yet? Nah. I'm coming for you, Hand. You better be looking over the stern of that Angler Quest, buddy, because I'm coming for you. Davis has hopefully asked me to go with you, Johnny. I got a pretty good crew with me, Scott. I got James, my grandson Trent, James' buddy Mike, who is also a captain and a pretty good stick. And I was just talking about this, Scott. My water, my skinny water, is getting harder and harder to fish just because it's all weeded up. But James and Mike will be at the back of the boat Saturday, just swapping out lures, just swapping. It's been hard for me running the boat by myself to fish in those weeded areas, even though I know they have fish, because it's just one guy. It's impossible to keep the weeds off. So I've been going a little bit deeper, which is not my strong suit. Running some spoons and getting some fish, but it's been slow for me. So I don't think you have to worry about me, Scott. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you Saturday at Linwood Beach Marina for the Angler Quest tournament. I'm going to run my boat across from Sunset Shores Saturday morning. So I'm hoping it doesn't blow. I'm hoping it'll get a big blow Saturday because I'll be running the boat across from the mouth of the river over to Sunset, fishing, which means we run back to the east side, then run back to Linwood Beach. And when the tournament's over, I'll be running back to the mouth of the river. So I'm going to put a few miles and a few gallons of gas through the Angler Quest, but it'll be a good time. So I talked about the weather. Yeah. Constantly reeling in and cleaning baits. I saw you, Matt. At the last minute, I realized it was you guys, and I nodded at you, but I didn't get a chance to wave at you. I knew it was you guys. In fact, I was just coming back from a fishing trip that day. In fact, I was going over to my buddy Doug's farm to dump fish carcasses. He feeds the eagles and the coyotes and the fox with fish carcasses. But yeah, I saw it was you. Morning, Tracy. How are you? The weather also, when I'm up in that skinny water, when you get thunderstorms that come rolling through the night before, it makes it tough. Those fish get really squirreled up in skinny water with thunderstorms. Yeah, sometimes it's tough, eh, Tim? David can't make sandwiches like Emil did. I did have an interesting situation the other day on the bay. I trolled into a commercial net. The net was clearly marked. It wasn't the commercial fisherman's fault. It was in an area that I did not expect to see a net because there wasn't a net there the last time I was out. And so I've got the autopilot on a heading, and I keep turning around. I'm working the back of a boat. I got a crew of people who are good people, but they're not fishermen. So I'm just looking over my shoulder every now and then to make sure I don't have any boats in front of me. I wasn't looking for a commercial net because there wasn't supposed to be one. There wasn't one there. Turns out my crew said, "Oh yeah, we saw those markers. We saw those buoys, but we didn't know what they meant." Fortunately, I only lost one bait after trolling into a commercial net. Mark, I didn't know you were going to have a hip replacement, buddy. I'm glad you're doing well. They slow you down for a while, those, because I've had 2 knee replacements. They slow you down for a while, but you're a better man afterwards. You'll be better off because of it. So heal up, I don't know how much rehab is involved in a hip replacement. I'm sure there's some. Knee replacements, a lot of, and that's really what hurts, right? Is the rehab. But rest, relax, and get ready for the late summer and early fall. Okay, Tim got his first load of bear for Red Oak bear tag. Can't wait to start baiting. Bear hunting is a riot, Tim. Good luck to you. Davina says the Wellston Party Mart on Cabernet Highway. They did say the rep was just in last time I was there. And he didn't bring any Mike Avery sticks? I'm going to pass this along to Nick Grillo. You can't have Michigan brand products in a store without having Mike Avery hunter sticks. It's just not right. It is. I didn't know you had your knees done too. The hips easier. So you're like the bionic man, hey, Mark? Hips are easier. Good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Boy, both knees and now a hip. You must be an old guy, Mark. Actually, you are an old guy, and I know for a fact you're younger than I am. So what does that say? The Wellston Party Mart. Johnny said, "Did you get to see that picture I sent? That's what we." No, Johnny, I don't think I saw it. I apologize. Oh, I did just hear, and let me check here now. I just got a private Facebook message about a woman near Ishpeming who allegedly was walking her dog. Okay, let me read this. I can pass her. It's up to you. She's still shaking up. She wants. I'd really like to talk with respect. The lady in mid-20s was walking her dog along a county road, and she got attacked. The dog got attacked by what she first thought was a big coyote. Later came to realize, in her opinion, it's a wolf. So the wolf attacked her dog. She tried to protect the dog, and she got in trouble too. Believe me. Oh, pictures are up on. Well, it's a UP trail camera that sent me the private message, Johnny. I am really trying to get in touch with her. I'm going to try to interview her. Scott says you should interview her. I'm going to try. I just got the information about a half hour ago. Believe me, she is high on the priority list of somebody to talk to. Yeah, we need a season, all right. And you know what? Further, Matt, I think if and when we do have a UP wolf season, we got to let the trappers get in on it. Got to let the trappers in and the houndsmen. All right, Ross has got to go. Got to sell a truck. Johnny says, strap on the 9mm. I'll walk the dogs up there. Well, Johnny, you know, when I was hunting with you, I even when I was bow hunting, I had a handgun with me. Of course, I always got a handgun with me, so that's not saying anything. Got a handgun with me right now. That's nothing new. What else? Okay, all forms. Yeah, we need the dog hunters. We need the hunters. We need the houndsmen. If we are going to effectively manage the UP wolf population, we need to. And we did hear a wolf, didn't we, Johnny? We need to get all available tools. Ross sells trucks. Ross, help me out. It's West Branch. Johnny would know this too. What is the dealership that Ross is at in West Branch? And I got a mental block, or I would let you know, but I just don't remember. Somebody will know. Johnny will know. If Ross is still here, he'll tell us. Hart Buick GMC. Thank you, Johnny. Speaking of handguns, do you have an FN57? I do not, but I was actually looking at my guns the other day, Tim, and I was thinking, Avery, you got to quit getting guns. I looked at them thinking, I will never shoot the guns I have, all of them. At this point, I'm just acquiring guns so I can pass them down to my kids. That's all I'm doing. I got it's an obsession. It's an addiction. Tim says, never talk like that. I hear you, Tim. You can never have enough. But actually, there comes a point in my where I do have enough. Always Mad Jack. What else? Johnny says, and Ross is the best sales manager around. Got my wife and I into 2 new used vehicles. Yeah, Ross could sell ice to an Eskimo. Mark says he wishes his dad would have had that obsession. Matthew, it's warm in here this morning, isn't it, buddy? Yeah, I think it's a lot warmer. Ed says he's actually thinking about selling one of his over-under skeet guns. There have been guns. Now, everybody has this, right? Everybody has guns that they've traded or sold who wish they didn't. For me, it was a Ruger Red Label that I got rid of that I wish I would not have gotten rid of. Ross can sell dirt to a farmer. That's a good one. And the other one was a Mini 14. I wish I would not have gotten rid of the Ruger Red Label or the Mini 14. What else? Cicadas, they're buzzing all across the state. I have not heard any personally, but I've had a lot of reports. Hey, Jeff. Jeff says it's a good addiction. Just added a CZ 550 Safari Classic, a 375 H&H, and an M1 Garand 1944 this week. Jeff did all of this in preparation for his retirement. And Jeff, I was thinking about you as I drove into the studio. I have a feeling Friday is your last day, right? Friday's your last day after 30 years, 25 years. Johnny said he had a Remington 700, 7mm. Wish he would have still kept it. Roger, 28 gauge over under. You miss. Dave says he's already handed him of his guns down to Sam and his brother, so there's no misunderstanding. Good points, Dave. Do it while you still can make that decision, right? 30-6. Jeff says, no, 7 more work days left. Okay, I was thinking for some reason you were done Friday. 7 more work days left. But who's counting? I remember when my dad retired, he told me, he said that last 6 months that he worked, he said he didn't write one ticket if he could avoid it because he didn't want to have to come back to go to court. Danny, how are things in North Dakota? Robert, any update on seated document? Robert, I'm not sure what that means. Is that the consent decree situation? I'm not sure what. John says, I'll never sell a gun. I'll take them to my grave. They won't do you much good then, will they? No update on the consent decree, Robert. We're waiting. We kind of know what it's going to look like. No problem. Johnny says, I got rid of a 40mm Smith & Wesson best pistol. I'll tell you what, Johnny, I got rid of all my 40 cals. Well, 40mm. You mean 40 cal? I don't like the 40 cals. I had 3 of them, and I just didn't like them. I got rid of my 40 cals, and I kept my 45s and 9s and a couple of 380s. I just don't like the 40. The 45 to me is a nice, slow push. The 40, I didn't like it. So I got rid of them all. Well, I only had 3 of them. Oh my gosh, a 45 Anaconda, a 44. Man, Davina, you're a little woman. That's a big gun. Good for you. Oh, so I got to tell you who's on the show this week, don't I? Because I got to start recording in here in just a couple of minutes. First, Jim Felgenauer talks about the sturgeon fishing season that is now open on the St. Clair River. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. 8260. I don't know who that is. Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. In our second hour, if I can survive in here and not melt in the heat, Kevin Pritchard of Jay's Sporting Goods helps us get ready for the upcoming bow season. It's time to start shooting. What should we be looking at? Amy Trotter of MUCC joins me in the second hour. I'm also going to keep her for a second segment and turn this week's Ask Avery segment into an Ask Amy segment. And then in our third hour, we're talking fishing with Mark Romanak. We're talking trolling. We're talking depth control. We're talking the new line of trolling rods that Mark has just unveiled at the ICAST show. And then in our at the end of the hour, we wrap it all up with Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. By the way, I'm taking Dave and Art Lewis of WSGW and Michael Hensley of Go Great. I'm taking those guys fishing in about a week and a half. I hope I can still find fish by then. All right, Johnny. Johnny, talk to you tonight. When is the next Wednesday Night Live? It's tonight. It's tonight at 7. What was that I just got here? I just got a voicemail. I can't look at it now because I got about a minute before we start the show. Eli had a left-handed bear bow. Sturgeon season on the St. Clair River. Yeah. Yeah, I do Wednesday Night Lives every Wednesday night. Some of them are just from the home studio, home office. I don't have any in the field schedule. The next one will be at the Michigan brand plant, probably in Frankenmuth or Bay City. Sure, go pick Mark's brain for where to fish Saturday. I know where I'm fishing Saturday, Scott. I know exactly where I'm fishing Saturday. And it won't be the west side of the channel. It'll be the east side of the channel. Because I got two young guys in the back of the boat who are going to work their asses off to keep weeds off the baits. So all I'm doing is driving Saturday. Pretty good deal. All right, I got to go to work. I got to record the show, which means I have to put my official broadcast headphones on and switch from this microphone to this microphone. Matt, this one, though, will not be open to the public. It'll just be me walking through the Michigan brand plant. Have a good day, my friends. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And glad to have you along with us as we continue this celebration of the history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan. Hunting, fishing, shooting, trapping, wildlife issues, conservation issues, and even some wild game cooking. That's what we talk about here on the Outdoor Magazine radio show. That's what I talk about every week for 3 hours on more than 30 stations across the state. And that's what I've been talking about for almost 40 years on television, on radio, on podcasting, and now these days on social media as well. And I do appreciate your support. If you weren't listening, if you weren't following me on social media, if you weren't hearing this the broadcast version of this radio show, if you weren't downloading or streaming the podcast version of the show, I would not be able to do it. Speaking of podcasting, I just I don't know if it's a milestone or not. It's just it's a statistic I happened to notice the other day as I was looking at download numbers for the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. The podcast of the Outdoor Magazine radio show has been downloaded more than 1 million times. More than 1 million times. Now, I'm not sure the syndication, the streaming platform, the podcasting platform I use is a very good, solid, reputable platform. But sometimes I think they play games with their numbers because I've seen the numbers go up and down and up and down. And they say now they have adjusted those numbers. They did this a while ago. They have adjusted the numbers to be conservative. So they say, if you see a number, you know that's a legitimate number and it's probably higher than that. So the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show has been downloaded more than 1 million times. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So what else is going on? Well, you know, I've been fishing, and it seems like every time I go fishing, the wind blows, or we have a big thunderstorm that rolls through the night before, or the morning of my fishing trips. Yesterday, I couldn't fish because I had to do real work, and it was dead calm. Right now, I'm in the studio looking out the window, and it's almost dead calm. I'm supposed to fish in a couple of days. It'll probably blow like crazy. Mother Nature, you're driving me crazy this summer. My fishing, I will be honest, it's starting to slow down for me. My skinny water that I love so much is kind of squirrely. If you get a big thunderstorm that rolls through there, those fish get a little. I don't think they like that lightning and thunder in 4 or 5 feet of water. But the main thing is the floating weeds. I'm not talking about weeds growing up from the bottom that you could troll over the top of. I'm talking about floating weeds that make it really, really tough to troll. Unless I guess you want to go through there with a bottom bouncer and a crawler. And I don't want to do that. Yeah, weeds do make it tough, especially if I'm running the boat by myself. I mean, ideal conditions, I'll put 6 lines out on each side. I can't do that in weeds running the boat by myself. In fact, the other day I had it down to 3 rods on each side and I still couldn't keep up with it. So I just bailed out. Even though I knew there were fish in there, I couldn't get to them because I was fouling baits as I let them out. And you're not going to catch a fish if your bait has a weed on it. So I had to bail out of there and move to a different spot. I did have an interesting situation though. First time this has ever happened in all the years I've spent out there on the Great Lakes. First time this has ever happened. I trolled right into a commercial net. I know. Avery, how did you do something? And the net was clearly marked. This was not the fault of the commercial fishermen. The net was clearly marked. What happened was this was a net in an area that I did not expect. This net was not there a couple of days earlier, last time I was out there. And so I was fishing with a crew of people who were great people, but they weren't veteran fishermen. So I put Otto, the autopilot, on the Angler Quest at a certain heading. And every once in a while, I would turn around to make sure there were no boats in front of me. But I wasn't looking for net markers because I didn't expect to see any there. Turns out my crew saw those markers, but didn't know what to think of them. They didn't think it was a big deal until we were right in them. And I look over there and there's an orange buoy right to the side of me. And then there's another orange buoy. And then there's the black flag of the commercial net. And I look and I've got all these boards going into this net. I've got all these baits going into this net. I thought this is going to be a fiasco. I'm going to lose everything. I wasn't worried about getting the Angler Quest, caught up in the net, but I thought I'm going to lose every bit of gear I have out there. I only lost one bait. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened. God was smiling down on me that day because I only lost one flicker minnow after trolling into a commercial net. Now I know that net is there, so I'm going to avoid it. And again, it wasn't the commercial fisherman's fault. The net was clearly marked. I just wasn't looking for it. And the people who were on board didn't know what the buoys meant, so they didn't say anything. Speaking of taking people fishing who aren't really, who haven't had the experience before, yes, it can be frustrating because they don't know what they're doing, but it's also, on the other hand, more rewarding than it is frustrating, because to take somebody out there and show them a resource they have never experienced before, to put them on fishing like they've never had before, is wonderful. I had one of the biggest fish of the summer a few days ago. A wonderful lady caught it. Big, I think it was a 26-inch fish. That's a good summertime walleye. Had big shoulders on it. A nice, big, beautiful fish. And the smile on her face was priceless. And then to top it off, a couple of days after that, I had a 10-year-old boy on the boat. And this kid was a fishing machine. He didn't know how to troll when we went out there, but believe me, by the time we got off the water, the kid knew about it. He had been researching fishing. He had been on YouTube looking at fishing videos. Of all the things a kid could look at on YouTube, this kid was looking at fishing videos. We get on the boat. He's asking me all these great questions. He's like, is that a 2-piece rod or is that a 1-piece rod? What pound test is your line? What are those baits called? How much line do you let out? How do you know where your baits are? I mean, this kid, his name is Cameron. a fishing machine. Look out for him in a few years. But he caught another big, beautiful walleye. And he just happened, and he loved to hold fish. I mean, a lot of 10-year-old kids don't like to hold fish, especially when they start flopping. Cam held this fish up and he positioned it just right. And the head was a little bit higher and the tail was a little bit lower. And he held it just below his face. I got some beautiful pictures. And again, a great, big, beautiful smile. That is so much fun. And that is so rewarding to look at those smiles. The Michigan Charter Boat Association is involved in a campaign right now in cooperation with the state where they say, you've seen the billboards. I can't think of the wording, but it's something to the effect of, it's the most fun you've never had. And they're talking about charter fishing, about going out in the water fishing with. And actually, I think the backstory on this was the consent decree negotiations were going the wrong direction, or did go, or whatever, the wrong direction. And I think the state threw the Michigan Charter Boat Association a bone and said, we'll do some advertising for you. We'll give you some advertising money. Cicadas. Have you heard them buzzing? I have yet to hear one, but I've had a lot of reports from across the state about those things buzzing. No, it doesn't mean 6 weeks till frost, the first frost. No, it doesn't mean 8 weeks, maybe even closer to 10. But I think I love watching these cycles, these patterns in Mother Nature. Like in the springtime, I love it when the red-winged blackbirds come back and you start to hear that trill, that call. It's like, okay, spring's just around the corner. When you hear the cicadas start to buzz, you think, okay, we're working our way through summer. The fall's not too far away. The fall hunting seasons. Time to start shooting your bow. We'll talk about that. In fact, the things we're going to talk about on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show after the break, I got to look at my list here. Jim Felgenauer talking about the sturgeon fishing season on the St. Clair River. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News at the end of the hour. In hour number 2, Kevin Pritchard of Jay's Sporting Goods helps us get ready for the bow hunting season. Amy Trotter of MUCC joins me. I'm going to actually keep Amy around for a second segment, and this week's Ask Avery segment will become the Ask Amy segment. And in our third hour, we're talking fishing with Mark Romanak. Depth control, trolling. They've just come out with a new line of trolling rods. We'll talk about that and more. And we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I'd love to hear from you. Don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know what's on your mind. More coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. So, yes, I see some of you saying, talking about the wolf attack. Kevin, right there. Just read an article. Where did you read the article? A woman from Ishpeming. I have reached out to her secondhand. I've reached out to her to try to get her on the show. It won't be this week's show. It would be next week's, but I'd love to talk with her. All right, my friends, have a great day. We'll talk to you tonight, 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I got to open the door, let some fresh air in here.